Okay, alrighty. Welcome to the weekend video. This is a bit of an abrupt start, but however, this is Enda here from bullwaves.org, obviously, and I am going to go through the markets. I hope you all had a great week. I'm going to go through these markets from an Elliott wave perspective, and let's see if we can figure out which way we're facing. It's been a bit of a strange week. Most definitely in the crude oil market, but in general across the board, maybe it's the fact that it's the holiday week or holiday season over in the States, and that's kind of created a little bit of a let's say a delay, or it's working as a kind of a delay function. That's a possibility, but in general, most definitely in the FX markets, it's been a bit of a strange kind of quiet week. So I'm rambling too much. I'm using a new microphone today, so hopefully this sounds a bit better. Let's get into the markets and let's try and pick it apart. This is euro dollar here, and I'm kind of today a bit perplexed by this three wave. It looks like a clear three wave pattern to the downside, but I'll get into that on the short-term chart. This is the 4-hour chart, and it looks like, for now, I'm taking the bearish perspective. There is a kind of an still clinging on in the background. There is the idea that this whole sideways move here could be a three-wave move, so an A, B, C three-wave move in a possible wave 2 blue. Still kind of haven't managed to discard that alternate count just yet. But for now, I do believe that we've got a series of 5 waves down and 3 waves up to the downside. You can see clearly here we've got a nice 3-wave pattern, and then off that high we've got a nice 5-wave move down again, and we've got a corrective move up. While that still points to the downside, it suggests a kind of a build of downside momentum or pressure. Still can't get rid of that that alternate count in the back of my head. So that's just one to keep an eye on. So we'll go from the 4-hour down to the hourly chart here and kind of pick apart the recent action. So here you can see off the wave 2, current wave 2 in blue, we've got 5 down, 3 up in wave 2 green, 5 down, excuse me, 3 up in wave 2 brown, and now a possible 1-2 pattern in pink and a 1-2 pattern in grey. So if you were to count them the whole lot together, that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 impulse waves. And it's starting to get a bit ropey. It's a bit of a stretch, but nonetheless it's possible. The other side of it is this could be a declining, or like a leading diagonal, a wedge pattern. So this 5-wave move here could also be wave 1 in green. So that's a very viable alternate count, so we'll throw that right in there. And the fact it may even be quite likely because of this corrective move to the downside here. But again, we've got this interim low here at 112.15, and if that breaks, well then I think we're into a full-on third wave down, and we should see further acceleration to the downside. But yeah, we've got this kind of two clear delineations here between the current operating count and a possible alternate count. So you've got that 115.02 level there, and if the price breaks above that, well then we'd probably switch to a declining wedge, maybe in wave 1, or sorry, leading diagonal if you want to call it that, in wave 1, and a 3-wave pattern up in a possible wave 2. So you could call the alternate wave 2 there. Let's get rid of that for a second. So you could call that an ABC up in possible larger degree wave 2. And then at that point, then we would move again further. It wouldn't change the medium to long term outlook for a very large decline to the downside. But for now, we'll work with this series of impulse waves, and we'll see if on Monday we get an acceleration lower. We've got a drop today. If we see a bounce off, let's say that 112.90 level again on Monday, if it bounces and pushes above that previous wave 2, that small degree wave 2 there at 114.30, and then that would be a very strong hint in favor of at least this alternate account here. So that's kind of something to watch for on Monday. Do we get a continuation lower and a break of that support to confirm a third wave down, or do we get a bounce off that lower trend channel line there and a push above that 115? So it's kind of like in flux at the moment, where Eurodollar stands at the moment. The medium to long term outlook still remains pretty damn bearish. We will get a spill down into a third wave down, possibly, well, likely before the end of the year anyway. But for now I'm sticking bearish, with the caveat that next week this possible alternate account here. I'm kind of tripping over myself here at the moment, so I'm just going to move on from Eurodollar. It's kind of it's confounding, let's put it that way, the action this week. So put a cap on that one and move on into. All right, so we've got let's go pound dollar 4 hour. This one I think is a little bit more solid to the bearish, to the point that it's a bearish count on display. We've got this kind of running flat wave 2 here, and we've got a couple of sharp moves down off that with corrective rises again. So given that setup, we've got two impulse waves there, a clear 3-wave pattern here in this wave 2 brown. So given these the clear patterns and the less likelihood of this alternate count here, I think we're more likely, or this bearish count is more probable than in Eurodollar. So for next week, it's probably a definite downside bet on pound dollar. So here's that little 3-wave pattern. I was kind of between two stools there the other night, suggesting that we could get this trend channel filled, and we did get the trend channel filled. And again, today off that trend channel, we've got a little move to the downside. Not yet. It hasn't yet developed impulsively off that wave 2 pink high, but given the larger wave count, I think we could, if not guarantee, but most likely, view next week as most likely a down week in a possible third wave. So you'd be looking for, this is wave 2 in green, you'd be looking for a further extension lower in wave 3 green, but this would be wave 3 of wave 3 of wave 3, so it'll be a third of a third of a third. That does suggest a very large degree decline, and I think the markets might be a little bit shocked by that, given the kind of good news that's been coming out of, let's say, the negotiations that's on way or underway or completing. Is it even completing, or is it underway? You hear so much damn news about this Brexit that you kind of just, I've tuned it out completely. But I did hear that they had come to some kind of preliminary agreement. But the pattern is the pattern, and the pattern is quite bearish. So I'm going to stick with the impulse waves to the downside and a possible acceleration lower in a third wave. Okay, we've got dollar yen here. That's the hourly chart. Let's go to the 4-hour chart. Again, I'm kind of on dollar yen. I'm kind of a little bit, like I said, between two stools here. The alternate count here shows a very large triangle, which would be completing in a wave E here. Go to the daily chart there. That triangle would be all the way from the 2015 high, so it'd be a very large B wave triangle. If that triangle is completing, if it's complete or is in the process of completing, we still may have one push a little bit lower to complete that B wave triangle. But let's get to the 4-hour chart. We have had a 5 waves up off a recent low, which is kind of turning, kind of facing towards the bullish direction again. Dollar yen has been a little bit of a bugbear for me over the last while, trying to figure out, the short-term patterns don't quite fit the larger pattern. I'm pretty confident on either one of the larger patterns here, either the wave 1 up and wave 2, completing wave 2, or the completing a triangle in a B wave. But in the short term, over the last, let's say, month, we have been to the upside, but it's been labored, let's say. So this labored move to the upside does kind of concern me a little bit. But for now, let's stick with the bullish play here. We possibly have a 1-2 pattern here complete this afternoon. Yeah, the decline over the last day or so has been minuscule and corrective. We may have hit a low at wave 2. We're looking for kind of a 1-2 pattern again to the upside in a wave 1 brown. So we're kind of I'm hands off on dollar yen at the moment. I'm not discounting the bullish count. I'm not discounting the count. Excuse the pun. I'm not negating it. It's still there. We still could have the 5 waves up in wave 1 in brackets there, and an expanded flat wave 2. And the fact that we did reach that kind of initial target for a break of the previous wave A, we broke the previous wave A, and we got to move up off that level again. Like, the chips are falling in our direction, but I've still got like this, let's say this, I don't even know how to describe it, a doubt in my mind that I am fully on the mark here. But for now, I'm kind of hands off, and I want to see a larger 5 waves up develop and a break of resistance. So let's call it a 5 waves up in wave 1 in brown to begin a larger 3rd wave up. So on one side we have the Atlantic crosses with the potential of declining in multiple degrees of 3rd waves down, and on the Pacific cross here, let's say the flip side of pound dollar and euro dollar, we've got the potential for a very large degree move up in a third of a third to the upside, which fits, but we still need like a short-term confirmation, I suppose, is what the words I'm looking for. So for next week, my eyes are kind of, again, the focus is to the upside, with the intention of building a 5 wave pattern off this wave 2 low. So let's see how that works out. So 4-hour chart in the Dow. The 4-hour chart in the Dow it's working out well so far. Or the Dow wave count is working out well so far. We may have wave 3 underway, and again, the caveat being that we have a larger wave 2 pattern here. We can see so far a possible 3 wave move, and this move does fit within a trend channel, so we'll see that on the hourly chart. We've got a nice interim high as well here, so a corrective high. So that's about 25,500. So if we get a break of 25,500, that would suggest that in at least well, for the next couple of weeks, if we get a break of 25,500, it will suggest that we get another run up to complete a second wave, a larger three-wave pattern in a second wave. Okay. So, well, for now, my chips are still on a bearish acceleration lower. So here you can see that possible either a 1-2 pattern, a series of 1-2s to the downside, or a three-wave pattern at the downside. And here you can see the alternate larger wave 2 possibility. I do want to see next week. We didn't get that acceleration lower that I wanted to see this week, but I do want to see that happen next week and a break of 24,120. So that would be the previous wave 1 here. And if that happens, well, then we're probably away to the races, I think. For the moment, over the last couple of days, I know the market is open again today, but it's very stagnant. There's very little trading actually happening today. I'm looking at a possibility of a B-wave decline that's been kind of just inching lower over the last couple of days. We've got a possible A, B, and C in wave 2. This could be an expanded flat wave 2. And if that's the case, you kind of see you should see a run up in a C wave early Monday, possibly towards the end of Monday, into resistance at about 24,800, and then we would see a decline into a third wave. So I do want to see a short-term corrective pattern complete at about 24,800, and then a reversal back to declines again. And if we do get that corrective rise complete, and then a further break of 24,128, which is the previous wave 1 low. I hope you're following this. I mean, I'm starting to lose myself here. But if you are, well done to you. A break of support again next week after a correction will be the best indication yet that a third wave down is underway. Okay. And God help us if there is. Okay, so here is gold. The 4-hour gold. I think we're looking pretty good in gold. I have an alternate account here, still kind of sitting in the background, but it is declining in probability every day, mainly because of this structure here, which is a clear three-wave structure, an ABC three-wave structure, and we've got a nice bounce off that again. If that holds as a correction, then the most recent low at around the 1200 mark. Oh, it's 1191, I think. Let's get to the lower chart. Yeah, sorry, 1196. If that 1196 low holds, I think we are finally moving up into a third wave. You can see here that's the three-wave pattern that I just spoke about. It's within a nice trend channel. The fact that we've came down in a three-wave pattern, it bounced. Well, it broke the lower trend channel line, but it has bounced again in a nice 5-wave move. The fact that we've got that in place does point to the upside. So we've got off the low a possible wave 1 in blue, wave 2 in blue, wave 1 in brown, wave 2 in brown, 2 higher lows, and at the moment a possible third higher low building right now. So early next week, we want to see this completing wave 2 by Monday. Sorry, I'm not going to be editing this video. It's going to be raw, so I have to kind of correct myself on the fly. We want to see this wave 2 here in pink complete. I was suggesting about 1217 for that to happen, but it could be a running flat as well. We may have completed at 1220 this evening's low. But for now, I'm going to stick with 1217, and that'll be a slight break of that previous. If you were to look at this as a three-wave move, that would be wave A, B, and C. So that would be a slight break of that 12.1790 or 12.18 wave A low. So again, we've got a three-wave pattern, expanded flat, wave 2, if not complete, very close to completing. And so next week we've got that ever-present 1243 at the wave 1 high, waiting for a break. So initial resistance should break in a third of a third of a third wave at 1243 by middle of next week anyway. Okay, so here is CRUDE. CRUDE has been, well, it's been an awesome decline. I know we've been looking for that. We were looking for that decline, and it happened. The continuation of the decline over the last few days has been a little bit perplexing, let's say. But I think this evening, now that we've drawn to like a third week, three clear or three straight. No, this is probably 5 straight weeks of decline now, is it? Or 4 straight weeks of declines. Yeah, 5 straight weeks of declines. I think we've got to be very close to a large degree wave 1 low. You can see that we're approaching this previous 49. Did we even dip into the 49 handle today, or the 40s handle? Quite possibly. But this is our 49.20 level. That was the previous wave B here. So let's get out to the daily chart and I'll show you that wave B. This wave B here, I'll show you that 49. So that was the very large 5-wave contracting triangle wave B, and then we had the 5 waves up off that complete at the upper trend line there, and that was the main reason we were looking for a decline in the first place. We've got the. It took almost what 2 or 3, almost 2 years to run back up to that recent high, and it's taken 6 weeks to take 50% of that right back out. So bear markets are vicious, aren't they? I'm counting a 5-wave decline in a large degree, wave 5, and I think that I'm projecting, low 20s for that wave 5 to complete. And I remember when I was saying that on videos a few months back, people were, let's say, less than enthusiastic about that outlook. But right now, it's looking very possible, isn't it? Especially if we broke into the 49 handle today. I'm still counting a wave 1 and a 2, or a wave 2 should complete, or a wave 2 should begin very soon. And so let's get into the 4-hour chart here to see how that might have played out. This evening I've changed the short-term account to show an extension in a third wave and then a 4th wave off the recent low, and now we're working on a 5th wave down. So we've got 5 waves down, pretty much complete again if you're looking at a third wave extension. And again, off the high here, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in wave 1 blue, a very small wave 2 blue, which was kind of put me off this count before, but this is where we sit right now. So wave 1, 2, 3, 4, and a plunge into wave 5 of 3, and then a short correction in wave 4 blue. And now over the last few days, we've got further drops into a 5th wave down, and we keep seeing kind of corrective rallies off sharp drops, and I think, well, let me rephrase that. The fact that the corrections are starting to get a little bit more traction to the upside, I think it does suggest that we are very close to a large degree wave 1 low. I was previously counting this low here, now wave 3. I was counting that as wave 1 last week, and we had a 3-wave move up, and I was looking for a 3-wave move down. We got possible, an extended move down. We were looking at an expanded flat wave 2, but today's declines has just kind of blown that one out of the water. So where do we go from here? Well, this 5th wave of wave 1 looks to be completing in a wave 1, 2, expanded flat wave 2, wave 3 down, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, wave 3. We're down at the lower trend channel line again, so we might see a bounce and one final low to complete 5 waves of 5. 5 waves of 5 of 1. Still looking for that larger degree wave 2 over the next week or so. So that'll be the outlook for next week, is to get a final low in wave 1 and some sort of a decent correction in wave 2. You would be looking at this previous 4th wave here again at the upper 50s, so you might even see a spike higher up into the 60s again, 60s handle. So yeah, let's work with that on Monday. You might see a fresh low on Monday and then a bounce into a wave A. But we'll see how that plays out. I don't think this second wave is going to be in any way tradable whatsoever. If a second wave, if it plays out like I think it's going to play out, well, it might be short, sharp, and very hard to move on at all. Okay, so that's crude. Let's get into the S&P. All right, the S&P is lower this week. We were looking for lower. We got lower, but again, there's caveats to what's happening, or there are the complexity. You might move into, it may go the way you want it to go, but the complexity always is, it's always a complex thing to, like a living, it's a living, breathing thing, this wave, this market. And again, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm going to have to start moving on. All right, I'm looking at a wave 1 and 2 to the downside in the S&P. We got a pretty clear 3-wave pattern to the upside. The count on the S&P is slightly different to the count on the Dow, although you could still kind of transfer the wave count from the Dow onto the S&P and it'd still work, but I'm just kind of apprehensive to do that right now. Off the recent wave 2 high, we were looking for further declines. We got the further declines, and now we're sitting at a kind of a lower degree second wave, which has not completed just yet, which is quite like the Dow in that sense. And again, the holiday period has kind of flattened out the trading. There's been very little kind of action whatsoever this week. But we could be looking at a 3-wave pattern in a possible wave 2 here. So we've got a nice 5 waves down off the recent wave 2 in brackets, so we're calling that wave 1 in pink. So we're looking at wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in wave 1, and now a possible expanded flat wave 2, which should break resistance to 2671, and that should probably happen by Monday evening, I think. And we've got this declining trend channel line here. That declining trend channel line should hold wave 2 in check. I'm going to get rid of this alternate count because it's not helpful for the moment. Yeah, the declines over the last couple of days, even though this is partially mixed with futures as well, so it always, my chart here is a mix between the futures and the cash market. It's a kind of continuous trading, so it's the pattern is sometimes off, but I think we can see that this decline here has most likely been in a 3-wave pattern, and we should see a 5-wave C wave up to complete wave 2. So let's look for that next week. Then we will have a a further lower degree impulse wave to the downside, and with a pretty solid resistance level there, 26.71, and we've got a downward sloping trend channel line at about 26.80. So we've got a nice kind of band of resistance, and a target as well, a target zone and a band of resistance, which should turn the market lower again. So let's see if wave 2 completes early next week and we get a move down into wave 3, and that's what we'll be looking for next week. And again, this would be a large degree move down into a third wave. So we're looking at wave 3 in green here, and the targets for wave 3 in green are down in the 22s, so the low 20, or well, the mid 22s, so 22.50 area for wave 3 green to complete. So that's quite a fall ahead if it happens. So let's move on. That is the S&P done. So silver took a hit today, but I still think that it's in a corrective decline off the low. We've got 5 waves down in a C wave complete, and we got a nice bounce off the previous third wave low. So it does suggest that the market is turning or has turned, and I'm long silver since about a month ago now. So we did get that final decline, but I'm pretty confident that we've seen the last of the serious declines in silver. Okay, so here's the hourly chart. We've got 5 waves up. I've altered this short-term count slightly today to take account of this decline. You could call it an expanded flat off, let's say, this previous high here. You could call this an ABC expanded flat, or you could call it a flat off the most, let's say, Thursday's extreme high. Was that Thursday's high? Wednesday's high. Either way, it works, and I still think that it's a corrective decline into that 14.18 or was it 14.20 low this evening. So where do we go from here? I'm still looking for a third wave up, as in gold. I think gold and silver will again move together to the upside pretty damn soon. We've got that 13.88 low here, which should hold as this market moves up in a third wave, and we've got key support there at 13.63, and most definitely don't want to see that breaking. Okay, so that's silver. Next week, if that wave 2 is complete, then we should see a spike higher in wave 3, and we've got that ever-present $15 mark, which a break of 15 is pretty much my bullish confirmation, long-term bullish confirmation level. So if that happens next week, well, then we're away to the races in silver. Okay, so we got a new high, slight new high today in treasuries in the 10-year. I can't view this as anything other than a 3-wave flat correction to the upside in wave 2. Let's get to the 4-hour chart there. We've got a nice 5 waves down in wave 1 green, and we've got a 3-wave correction in wave 2 green. I believe this 3-wave correction is more or less at the 62% level. Doodle-doo. Yeah, you can see that the 62% level is, or 61.8% Fibonacci retracement is at 119.39, so 119.40, and the peak today was 119.42 or something. Yeah, we're right there. We're right at that level for a turnaround lower. I had thought that this initial move down was the start of wave 1 down, or wave 1 down complete. Slight new high today. It does look like a 3-wave pattern to the upside. So we could even have some sort of a strange complex correction here, or a contraction triangle wave 4. So you could even see that low here could be a contraction triangle wave 4 low, and then a spike higher in a fifth wave. It's a pretty hard one to call on that stage, but the fact that we're at a significant resistance level in Fibonacci terms, we've completed 3 waves, we've got the internal pattern correct, we've got price bouncing off the upper trend channel line, does say to me that, you know, we're right here for and we have a corrective rally complete, and we were ripe for a turn down lower again in the 10-year. So next week I'll be looking for again further confirmation of a turn. So we want to see a clear impulse pattern to the downside again in the 10-year. Okay, so that I think I just managed to keep myself awake during that. That completes the 9 markets. Thanks so much for being with me this week. I hope you had a good Thanksgiving, everybody over in the States. And next week brings us back to reality again, and back to trading. And it may be a very harsh reality. It might be a very sudden wake to a harsh reality in if the short-term counts in the stock market are correct. And if it is, well, you know, we just have to deal with it, don't we? Roll with the punches. So that completes this week's video. Have a great weekend, everybody, guys and gals. God bless, Godspeed, and we will talk to you Monday evening. Bye-bye.